Let's pray. Dear God, we thank you for the city of St. John. We don't always know what may come up in these meetings, and we ask that you would give wisdom to those in attendance this evening to hear and respond with your direction. We ask for you to help the elected officials to discern what is best for our community. Keep our hearts safe during this time as we seek to help the community of St. John move forward in becoming a better, safer place to live and work and worship. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Are there any additions to the agenda? We have new business under grocery store committee and executive session pursuant to the preliminary discussions relating to the acquisition of real property, and under administration superintendent, the hire of David Heller for maintenance worker at $12 per hour. Are there any other additions?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Are there any citizen comments this evening? Consent agenda. Approved minutes for regular meeting on 4/19/2016. Approve appropriation ordinance 0503/2016 in the amount of $84,739.65. Hiring of returning lifeguards: Katrina Brown, Carissa Brown, Courtney Brown, Allison Smith, Quincy Smith, and Cole Kinnaman at $8.25 per hour, effective May 3rd, 2016. I'm going to assume through September 5th, 2016. Item 4, hiring new lifeguards: Preston Miller, Jackie Rios, Melissa Williamson, and Shayla Garcia at $7.25 per hour, and Kate Graber as assistant pool manager at $8.50 per hour, effective upon completion of certification through September 5th of 2016. Hiring of Gerardo Calleros for seasonal employee, effective May 3rd, 2016. Is there any discussion?
See the one that worked for the city
Headed.
last year?
Yep, that's headed.
Move to approve.
I think we have to provide that Gerardo is clear what he's making now. In that motion.
$8.50. Sorry, that was supposed to be on there. He had $8.25 last year, and then with him returning this year, I'd like to give him a little bit for coming back. So
Okay, so it would be the hiring of Gerardo Calleros for seasonal employee, effective May 3rd, 2016 at $8.50 per hour.
So moved.
thanks, John.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I do not see the police chief and I do not see the fire chief, so Donna.
In your packet, there was a quote from CIC. The city currently does not have any software for maintaining the municipal court records. Everything's done on hand by Excel or filed by paper. CIC does have a program to do that. It'll convert with all the other programs with CIC, and it'll make it easier for Pam to know how much the fines are going to be, and plus it will automatically send the reports to the state. The proposal is $3,425 for the initial application. That covers the hardware, the software, and the training, and then after that it is $365 a year.
How long is the software good for?
It's going to be good for as long as CIC. They'll update it just like all the other ones. So as long as we are in agreement with CIC, then they'll upgrade that software.
Got it in the budget for it?
Mm-hmm.
I'll have a problem with
You need a motion.
it. Make a motion to accept CIC's bid, $3,425. Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
The next thing in your packet should be Doris Tompkins' special event, the Sarah Malt beverage license. Her and her son-in-law have agreed to do the beer garden for the Jubilee. So I need somebody for you guys to kind of approve that, and then you guys need to decide how much of a fee the city's going to charge. What Doris is asking for is that if it would rain on Friday, that she be allowed to move the beer garden to Saturday afternoon in the same location. And it's okay with the lodge, but that's why if you guys look at it, it's going to say that she wants it for May 27th and May 28th. Really, May 28th is just the rain out date. So if it doesn't rain out on Friday, then that's when she'll have it. Last year, you guys charged $100 for the city license fee.
All of you should have received in your packet an email that I received last Monday regarding the beer garden. I don't know if the signature on this is someone's last name or what. I'm not going to read it because it's full of language that I choose not to use. But just thought you might all want to take that into consideration as we're approving this license.
Is it pertaining to this too?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I'll make a motion to approve the license at $100 again.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Lastly, I just wanted to let you guys know that next council meeting, because of the high school banquet and Bella getting honored as a senior, I'm not going to be here, but Pam will be here to take the minutes for you guys. She only has one request, and that is to not have to speak. That's her only request. So I'll just have what I'll have to say, and I'll give it to the mayor. But she just wanted me to pass that along, or Corey. That's it. That's all I have.
Superintendent.
So we have GIS here with us tonight for the presentation.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Jeannie Andrews, and I am from GIS Workshop out of Lincoln, Nebraska. We have been a fairly big platform in the GIS GPS world across the Midwestern part of the United States. And you have all been involved with a project here in town with regard to your new meters that you're looking at installing. And your superintendent had some previous contact with our office. And so about 6 weeks ago, I came down here and did a presentation for, I think it was pretty much all of your city employees set in. Our company started back in the 90s, prior to any digitization or any web-based layout for counties. Parcel build-outs became kind of a big deal. And I was looking at the map on the wall back here, and basically, for you to understand it, is what we would do is we would work with your county. I talked to Carl over at the assessor's office and appraiser's office, and he has said that the city of St. John is built out, and what that means is all of that information that's on that wall there and any changes that have occurred since 1986, which I'm sure there's probably been a few, has been built out by your county. So the city of St. John is digitized in a program called AutoCAD that he developed and that your county has developed. The basic platform for GIS, I'm going to hand out a little, just kind of an informational sheet. It's just has information about what we are and what we do. Corey, you haven't seen this either, and LaDonna neither of you. Basically what we do is we come in and we develop a web-based single visual repository for all of the city's assets. And what that means to you is, I'm going to read, we have a community in Nebraska that we wrote, contracted with here just in the last year. Basically what it says is, Two of our guys have been with us for 40 years each. All the information about our assets was in their heads or on maps that hadn't been updated. GIS Workshop gave us a great opportunity to get the information out of their heads and into a system where other people can see it. I think that's just really pretty simple what we do. What we do is we take and we can either give the community a platform for you to purchase the information or the equipment to find out where all your assets are, whether it's sewer, water, electrical, hydrants, basically all the information that helps manage your city in a more effective way. And my background is in the risk services area. I've worked with municipalities and counties across the last 30 years. And basically what it helps you do is manage your assets in a much easier, simpler, more technologically savvy way. It also gives your team a more proactive management platform by being able to have all the maintenance information and all of the data collected about all of your assets in the city in one single place. Not in a file cabinet, not in Joe's head, not someplace where it could probably and possibly be destroyed. It's web-based. We have 3 server backup system. And so all the information is collected and is collective available at any time, any place, anywhere on any device. So probably one of the other things that it does is it allows for transparency of government to your public. So your public would have a view of your city. We develop your parks information. We develop any assets that you want the public to be able to view, whether it be a walking trail or a cemetery or any of the assets within the city that the public would want access to be able to see what's going on with those assets. We have 2 ways in which we can collect the data. Like I said, one way is for the community to purchase the equipment, which can get very costly. The other way is for the city to hire us to come in and actively work with your superintendent to GPS and collect all that data and all that information. And then basically what we do is we take all that information back. It probably takes us about a week to do it. And we would put that in a shape file and we would build the layers within a web-based program that is viewable by whomever you choose to view it. And it also has a maintenance and work order component to it that you can start tracking all of your asset information. Another big piece that we're starting to develop is the cost analysis of all the assets of your community. So as you move forward, you start developing all the costs into the system of all the assets as you install them. So like if you have to put a new fire hydrant in and it costs you $500 or $1,000 or $1,500, you can start maintaining all that information. The reason why that's important is if you've ever been involved in a catastrophic event, that's the first thing FEMA wants to know. What's the value of your assets? Where's your records? How have you maintained them? How much has it cost you? And if you don't have that information, FEMA steps away. And so that's the whole platform that we're trying to develop behind the scenes then after you've done this process. So I would open it up to questions and I would ask if LaDonna and Corey have anything they'd like to add with regard to the product that they viewed and entertain any questions that you might have.
You said that the community members can view this information. Would they be able to view it on the city's website?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There'd be a link to our website then,
Okay.
which is your website actually.
Mm-hmm.
Contractually, we house all of your information, but it belongs to the city.
Mm-hmm.
And at any time, if you guys want the information back and you want to close down the website, we put it in a shape file and give it back to you. But yes, it is, and it's viewable at the level with which you want to give access. So if you don't want them to know where the sewer lines are, you have a log that goes behind a login. But if you want them to be able to see the parks and the walking trails or the cemetery or any of that information, that can all be. And then we also have. Does everybody know what Esri mapping is? Esri is the company that basically maps and has a visual overview of the entire United States. So we lay that in too, so you'll be able to see the city as it looks from a visual up above. And so that map is applied, and so you would be able to see your park, and you'd be able to see your swimming pool, you'd be able to see the houses in town. Anything that Esri takes a picture of, and I think Nebraska's being flown this year again. They usually fly every 2 years. So I don't know when Kansas is due to fly or if they've recently been flown. But that mapping sometimes can get as old as 4 years. But you can get that updated as you deem or as they deem necessary, and then we automatically update that to you.
Now, you said also too that if we were putting in something here within the city, we could have an itemized list. Is that what you're talking about? So every part that's on there, we can get the part name, what it costs.
We call it attributes. And so what you do is you have a feature that's going to show up on the map, and it's going to be fire hydrants are normally a red dot. And it's got a long and a lat that lays on the map. And once you click on that on the website, it drops down into a drop-down box. It gives you all the attributes, the manufacturer, the size of the pipe, which way the valve is facing, southeast, or which way it's facing. You can have as many attributes about that feature as you desire. So if we collect the data, we would have one of your guys that knows the city go out with us, and then as we collect that data, we would put as much information in about that feature as you wanted at that time. Now, one of the things that is very important is that you need to know is this is not a system that we're just going to deliver and everything's going to be perfect, spot on, and you're going to have all the information you want. This is going to be something, and I think all of your guys agreed with this. This is going to be something that they're going to build on over time, and over, in 30 years, they're going to be able to look back and tell that in 2016 is when the city decided to build this, and this is what we knew was here in 2016, and we've added all this information as we move forward. All the work orders that have been done on that fire hydrant for 30 years is going to be there. All of the information. And the thing about that is important is as you move forward, I just had this conversation with a utilities company in Nebraska. They have a fairly large utility company. They have 7 employees. But they are all out on the road doing their own thing and everything. And what they realized is that they'd had a break in one of the water mains 2 blocks from their shop. 3 different guys had been out there, and they repaired it 3 different times. And when they got to talking about it in a meeting, they said, "What the hell are we doing this? Why are we repairing this? We should have probably replaced it." So it really gives you an asset tool to manage your maintenance records and your maintenance information in a very, very easier, more accessible manner. And if somebody in the department moves on, they don't take all that information with them. All that information is now in your system.
How secure is your system?
We have everything's as secure as we have a highly effective security system. We've been in business since the early to mid 90s, and we've never had a break or a breach in our system. We back up on 3 servers. One is in Lincoln at our office. One is in another location in Lincoln, and the other one is offsite in another community. So we have 3 server backups. And when I say backup, it's backing up our information that we've got in that you guys have installed, and it's really not backing up because every time you make a change in the system, it's automatically there. So I hate to use that term backup because it's once it's in the system and saved and edited, it's there. So the backup I mean is we have other systems that it's in.
This is the deal that Mel dropped the ball on, isn't it? Similar.
I think it was similar.
I think it's similar, but I don't know if it's the
I
same
think it
program.
was the deal through the county. where
Yeah, I
we
thought
did
that was
everything
something that's
water.
right. Yeah, it was supposed to do the water, or the manholes.
Right. Yeah, was it the pictography, right?
Yeah.
Pictometry.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yep, the only downside to that is if you guys make a change, you have to go through Maryland, and Maryland will put it in there, and you guys don't have access to it.
And with regard to pictometry, it's really not the same. Pictometry is a visual of your community that's a picture. It doesn't outlay your assets at all. It can't tell you where the water lines are. It can't tell you where the meters are. It can't tell you. It's just a visual appearance, and it's a picture of your town at a point in time. This is an active management system that is all of the collective information of where all those assets are at through a GIS platform. So they're long and lat in the system, and it's a visual of where all that information is at. So if you've got a break in the main, and you get a phone call, and they say they got water coming up, LaDonna's going to be able to pull that up, click on that feature, and send a work order, develop a work order that's going to attach to that water main. And the guys are going to get it. Then once they get that done, they're going to go into that system and they're going to put in there what they did while they were out there. And so pictometry is a visual picture of an aerial of your community, where this is actually a mapping system of all of your assets within the city. How we do this is, and I mean, there's, like I said, there's two ways to do it. Corey, how much how much collection do you have right now? Very limited, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Very limited.
Yeah.
I would tell you that from a cost-effective position, you can buy the equipment, and we sell the equipment. We sell it through Trimble, which is your standard baseline equipment that is widely used, and it's what adapts to our technology. And the guys can collect it over a 2 or 3 or 4 year period and just lay the information as you require it and as you get the information. With that, there's a lot of cost that comes with that, because you have to build an AutoCAD system, you have to be able to develop the shape files, you have to be able to get the equipment, and the equipment can cost anywhere between $3,000 to get within 3 feet to $25,000 with all the training and all the information and all the programming you need to develop it. Then all of your licensing to get all that information. And say it takes them 3 or 4 years to collect all the information. Plus you have the cost of your guys not doing the job they're supposed to be doing. They're doing this at the time, and so you have to kind of add that cost in too. I would tell you that I think all the communities that have hired us to do the data collection has really been much more cost effective and much quicker, and we could have the system built and rolled out to you in probably anywhere between 3 and 4 months with all the information already actively a part of it. But I think you need to speak to what you think it's going to do to you to be able to manage your assets through this type of a system.
Oh, I know that'll help us. I've run different systems like this before I've come here. It'll tell we can put in as many layers as we want, like you said. It can tell us depths, material types, where it's at, and then once we get it laid out and the footages, and then as you go and do work, we can denote where those footages are. You know what I mean? So you can go back and measure it. One of the other things that I'd like to see done through this is taps. I'd like to eventually go and see exactly where the taps from the homes are coming into the lines, be it a sewer service and or a water service, which would be, we'll know where the cans are, obviously, but that'll give us a lot better when it comes to locating time. If we do any work, if we have abandoned lots that come up again and build on, we know what we have there.
What's the editing tool? I guess I don't understand it.
That once the systems are all built and layered in, say they move a fire hydrant, they have access to go in and physically put the new long and lat in and lay that in themselves. They don't have to send it to us to do it. We will do it if they choose for us to do it, but it also would change. Say that they get out there and they find out, oh wait a minute, this line is 3 feet further over. Then they can come back to the office and lay the long and the lat in and move it. So the editing tool, and that is under a login by whomever has access to the editing tool. Not just everybody gets access to the editing tool. And that tool allows you to continue to keep up with your asset management as you're moving forward.
Right now, most of our stuff is hand drawn on single sheets of paper. And this way, if you get a larger scope, you can follow lines a lot better and know what's coming in and what's leaving, and instead of just having short individual blocks, and then you're chasing it down on foot. You know.
Well, I think it'd be a huge benefit.
Well, we'd finally know what our electricity system's worth.
Yeah.
Our system that we've asked for 10 times and nobody knows.
Yep.
I think as a community, this is, I mean, and I've been with the company about 6 months, and they hired me because of my risk management background, and to help continue to build the system and make it more robust and have cities have more control over their assets. And because in a catastrophic event, you got to know now where that stuff's at. Where is it located? What do we need to do? How do we get connected? And if this building was gone, or if the utilities department was gone, how do you start finding that information? So I would say that I mean the communities that we have worked with in Nebraska, I think we've rolled out just 7 in the last 2 weeks. They're just astounded by the amount of accuracy, dependability, information, and they call us every day and say, "Gosh, can we do this?" We just got a call from the city of Wahoo, and we're building their system right now, and they've decided the fire department wants to be able to put a layer in that they can put an address in that it'll tell them, and it'll pop up and tell them what the closest fire hydrant valve is that they can hook into when they get on site. So they don't even have to think about it. It's gonna, so we're gonna build them a layer with all the fire hydrants, and they're gonna put in an address, and it's gonna tell them which hydrant to go to that's gonna pump whatever it is they need for that location. So this is a system that's going to continue to be built. So that's where the annual maintenance every year comes along. Once you buy this system, you never have to pay for it again, because your maintenance system, your maintenance fees, anything new that we roll out is part of the system. Any new technological advances that we make come with part of your maintenance fees. And all of the training with all of that does too. And we have a phone system in our office that gets answered. You don't have a telephone that rings that says push 1, now push 5, now push 7, now push 8, and oh gosh, you pushed the wrong number, so now I'm going to hang up on you. So our techs answer the telephone. We have 8 techs on the phone at all times taking phone calls with any issues. If somebody has a problem, LaDonna can't get something to come up, they can jump on her computer and show her how to get where she needs to get. Or if it's something that we can't fix on site, on a go-to meeting, they put in a ticket, and they have a mandate of how fast those tickets have to be worked. So I just think that as far as our service, it can't be in comparison to any of the other systems that I've seen.
Is your text 24 hours, 7?
It is not. It is not. It is. We run from 7:30 in the morning till 5:30 at night, which generally covers most live. Now, if there's an emergency, we have an emergency number that you can call if you need help.
If we would do this, how soon would you get started on it?
As soon as we decide how we're going to collect the data. That's
Okay.
the next piece of it. The next piece of it is do you want to buy the equipment? Do you want to buy the licensing? Do you want your guys to do it over a long period of time? That's, we don't care which way you do it. I would just tell you the most advantageous way to get this thing up and running would be for us to come out and collect the information.
The cost on the back, how is that? Is that with you setting it up?
No, that's with us building the layers and you guys collecting the data. You'll either have to buy the equipment and create the layer, create the shape files to lay it in, because all of your assets have got to be
Right.
GPSed. So, or you pay us to come out and do it.
So what additional cost is that?
LaDonna's getting some information for me.
You have to know how many
Features.
You know how many
features
features.
we have. like how many manholes there are, how many
Water valves, hydrants, pools,
hydrants,
I mean,
wings.
and we don't have to. I mean, we just need a pretty good.
Yeah, we just need an
So we
estimate.
just,
But
the
we-
last time she said a city of this size, it took them about a week
Yeah.
to get all the information collected.
And so what did that week cost roughly?
Yeah, what's that dollar amount?
$10,000, $5,000?
No, it's more than that. You're
20,000.
probably looking, yeah, you're probably looking more in that range. And you're probably looking at, if you buy the equipment and you take a 3 to 4 year period to develop it, with all the licensing and all the fees and everything, you're probably looking at about 40,000. 25 for the equipment and the training and to get up and started, and then you've got to buy your licensing fees and everything to create the shape files. And so, and you're going to probably need that for 3 to 4 years as you're collecting the data, because it's going to take you it's, as much as I hate to say this, it's going to take you guys a long time to collect it all, just because they've got their jobs that they've got to be doing. There'll be periods of time where they're going to be able to go out and collect a lot of data all at once, and then there'll be periods of time where they're not going to collect any for months.
So it sounds like we need to move this to old business, and you guys need to come back to us when you have a little better idea of
Okay.
what the costs involved are going
Yeah.
to be.
I think that today was just to present the concept to you guys and see if you were interested in working with us. And then I thought you needed to see what the real numbers were just to get into the system. And then it's a decision about how you want to proceed. You know, how I will tell you that we have not had a city that has jumped on and did it either way that didn't have it come back to help them financially in cost savings over time. It's not something you're going to see in cost savings in the next couple of years, but in the next 5 you will. Okay?
Thank you.
Well, any other questions? I'm going to leave my card. If anybody has any questions for me, you can reach me most any time. I'm going to be in touch with you guys tomorrow, and we'll have some more discussions about that, and then I'll be back probably in June to go over those. I will get that information to you in advance so that you have time to look at it and review it, talk about it, and then we can have another conversation about which way you think we want to go about the data collection. Okay?
All right.
Fair enough? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
So next we have sit on the sidewalk for grant.
I believe in your, let's see, Ladonna, did you put the bid tabs
Yep.
in the packet?
Yeah, I think I put the bid tabs are in there and then the recommendation letter.
We had the bid letting for the sidewalk improvements on April 20th. We had 3 bidders, and the lowest responsible bid was from Mansell Construction in the amount of $144,604. We're recommending that the contract be awarded to Mansell Construction, but in looking at the way this is funded, the city is obligated to have a 10% cost sharing with the CDBG funds. And in the application, if you look at the cost breakout with the yellow line sheet, you have this sheet here in front of you.
That's the one I just passed you guys.
Okay.
This one.
The top portion of that indicates what the application indicated for CDBG funds, city cash or city funds, and then the total cost. And what the contractor's bid has shown is $144,604, but we had 5 alternates to that, with the idea that the city could do these 5 alternates if they needed to make up for their matching share. And of those alternates, number 1 was tree removal, 2 was concrete sidewalk removal, 3 was the adjustment of the water meters, 4 was the pavement patching, and 5 was pavement marking. And you can see the numbers indicated by the contractor for doing those items. And that totaled about $20,750. So the actual cost of the project, if we were to have the contractor do everything, would be $165,354, not the $144,604. All the work is really $165,354. There was a resolution passed by the city prior to the application, which identified what the city could do on their own force account and what the city then would have to come up with cash. At the time, it wasn't identified that the city could come up with 100% or the full 10% of force account work, that they would have to come up with some cash as well. And I believe that amount was $8,560 by the resolution. Leslie checked with the Department of Commerce to see if it would be possible for the city to do all the 10% with force account. And the response she received back was that since the city passed the resolution indicating they had $8,560 in cash, that had to be indicated as cash, not as work in kind. That the $13,000, the number on there, I think it was $13,450 was what the work in kind amount was indicated in that resolution, so that the city had their $22,040 of matching funds. In the reviewing what work is identified by the contractor and what work the city could do, got with Corey about this, we feel that the city can do the item number 1, the tree removal, item number 3, the adjustment of the water meters, and item number 4, the pavement patching, as their work in kind, and have the contractor do the concrete sidewalk removal and the pavement marking, and to award, and our recommendation is to award the contract to Mansell Construction for the base bid plus items number 2 and 5, the concrete sidewalk removal and the pavement marking.
It's another $7,100, basically, what you're saying.
Right, so the amount would be that on top of the 144, 604.
151,704.
Right, that sounds like right. I apologize, I did have all this already worked out in a spreadsheet, or a spreadsheet handout, and it's sitting on my desk back in that. And then the city would, Corey then would have to document the man hours that he spends on those items as well as the equipment hours, and that needs to be summarized so that when all is said and done, you can show that you've done at least the $13,000 and $450 worth of work. The city is looking at a cash outlay then of $8,560, of which I believe you've already paid 4,637 of them. Is that?
No, you guys have paid $2,892.65.
Okay.
You guys still have $5,667.
Okay, that's down at the bottom, yeah. So our request this evening is to have a recommendation of award to Mansell Construction for the 151,704 for the base bid plus alternates number 2 and 5. And then we'd also like to have, if you do that in the form of a motion, then to agree to have the mayor sign the agreement. What we'll do is take the notice of award, give it to the contractor, he'll get his bonds, he'll sign it, and then it comes back to the city for their signature. And then that way, once the agreement's approved, we can go ahead and set up a pre-construction conference and timing for the project.
Make a motion to approve Mansell Construction for the sidewalk project at $151,704, which will include the base deal plus alternates 2 and 5.
Do we need to add anything else with that?
Yeah, the authorization for the mayor to sign it.
Oh, also authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Second. Is there any further discussion? Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I'll have the notice of awards for you to sign. I'll fill in the numbers here and then give them to you, and I'll take those originals for the contract.
Thank you, Steve.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, do you want to do my addition? Okay, the other thing that we added to the agenda is I'd like to hire David Heller for our maintenance, our vacant maintenance position at $8 an hour to start.
Effective today.
Yeah, we make that effective today. His start date's maybe a little later.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
That's all I have for this evening.
John?
First thing is, the mayor needs to open a public hearing on the resolution, and I don't remember that resolution, what was on that, 2016.
Okay, so it's
05.
2016-05, isn't it?
It's Chelsea here.
Yeah, she's right in the back. She's here.
If just before we open the hearing, just a brief explanation. Council, remember some time ago, when was this first passed?
They first received their first letter on October 5th, 2015.
When was the resolution? Oh, I'm sorry, on March 14th.
March 4th, yeah.
The council will adopt a resolution going 2 pieces of property, requesting that the interest owners of those pieces of property appear and should cause as to why the council should order those properties cleaned up. Due process requirements require a hearing, which is what today is. The hearing is set for May 3rd. Subsequently to adoption of this resolution, I did receive a phone call from the property owner of 302 East Cooley. Am I saying that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
And it's my understanding he has gone in, or not gone in, at least made some repairs to the exterior of the house. The interior of their house has not been investigated, but he has made, I would say, substantial progress, at least from the pictures that were taken prior to March 14th and now. That would be eliminated from the need for today, leaving 213 South Broadway. Since we've not done this before, to my knowledge, the mayor will open the public hearing and hear from the public officer, which is Chelsea, who took Doris's spot. Chelsea will briefly explain what she has found on the property, and then the mayor would turn to the public and allow anybody who's an interest owner in that property to present any evidence or say anything regarding the condition of that property. If the council wants to move forward with condemning that property, the council adopts a resolution, which I later prepare depending on the outcome of this hearing, essentially giving the interest owners of that property a reasonable period of time to commence the cleanup or repair of that property. Usually it's 60 days, okay, maybe less now that we have reached spring, so we generally grant more time during the winter and less time this time of year. But that is up to you. Like I said, it's generally 60 days. If after 60 days no progress has been made with repair of that property, then the council can go in or order somebody to go in to repair it, make necessary changes to make the property safe, or if council believes it's unrepairable, to tear it down. Okay, those costs are then taxed to the property, and it's the same as your mowing costs and everything else. What is considered a dangerous or unfit statute, just to kind of read the ordinance, is dangerous, safe, or unfit for human habitation, means that dilapidation or general blight on the neighborhood or surrounding properties. I guess, is there any questions on before the public hearing?
Yeah, we do adjourn the regular meeting.
No, you just kind of like unsealing bids.
All right.
For me?
Sure.
All right, so I received this kind of in the middle of the process. At 213 South Broadway, it's a lot of dilapidation. Structural defects include the roof, the walls, the back porch, the front porch. There are trees and dead trees growing both up into the porch and around the house and around. And then there's a second property, or a second structure in the back of the property that has a tree laid over on it as well. So that's the last time I saw it. We'd
So, did you know
received,
if anybody living there?
I don't believe so.
And the utilities are not turned on the property.
Correct.
So I have not been the one that personally walked through the house to see any inside, to see if the electricity or the water or anything like that works. That's where I kind of get a hang up because I came in the middle. So that's where we're at.
And you would consider it a general blight to the neighborhood or
Yes.
surrounding properties? Yep.
Is there anything particular I need to say?
You just asked if there's any interest owner to that property who's here today that would like to speak on that property.
Call a public hearing to order. At this time, we would take comments from any of the property owners for the property at 213 South Broadway.
Yeah. The trees in front of the house has all been removed. My friend Terry Spradlin come down and took the limbs off the roof of the trailer house. The trailer house has never been a house, it's been a storage shed. It's all been mowed. I checked today, and last year you guys charged me $200 to mow that. And it was mowed before the letter had come out of this office. And your cop, Charlie Brown, personally told you people that he seen me mow it. But it seems though you got an employee that don't know how to read a tape measure, so he said it was over 6 inches tall, which it wasn't. And I told the cop that delivered the paper to go by and look at it and see that it was mowed. And I talked to Sherry and Bob and Marshall about it. And they said it would be discussed, and they'd tell me what was going to happen, and I never heard a word until today. I went up there and checked, and they did charge me $200 for mowing a yard that was already mowed. The house hasn't been lived in because my mother died. The reason that she ended up in St. John is my dad got cancer when he was 46 years old. And he worried about me and 2 girls, how we were going to do it. And somebody give her enough money to take $5,000 down on that house. And she worked 29 years in the hospital. Hard work to keep that house up and insured and put my 2 sisters through college. And they both went through college 4 years. She asked me to take care of it and not let everybody just go through it like it was dirty laundry. And I've mowed that yard every time before Memorial Day since 1962. And she had 3 good neighbors when she moved in there. And they all died, and she ended up with 3 of the worst neighbors you could ever get. Their dogs knocked her out of her chair. They run over her fence and tore it down. They just did everything. And I had 3 strokes in last year, first part of last year. And so that's the reason why that it got away from me, and I couldn't get no help. But like I say, Terry come down and helped me take the limbs off the trailer house. And I've got a guy that's helping me clean up the rest of the limbs and stuff. And he got pneumonia and ended up in the hospital. So that's the reason why We haven't done nothing for the last 2 weeks because I didn't want him to get sick and die on. The house, I plan on taking the back porch off of it because it's not a house anymore, it's storage, and I got my mother's stuff stored in. And I'll board up the back door so there won't be no back door. And like I say, I just put a new porch on that house when they put the furnace in. The government put a new furnace, or a used furnace in there for it. But I'm not 20 years old anymore, but I'm doing the best I can. And I've got a neighbor south of me that it don't make no difference what you do, you couldn't make him happy. And when I moved that trailer house in there for storage shed, I was told I had to keep it 10 foot from the property line. And that's what I did. They let him move a storage shed in right up against my pine tree that's right smack on the property line. But they didn't make him move it. And I've got pictures of at least 19 houses in St. John that's as bad or worse than hers is. And I can show you one that's sitting on a hole in the ground with no foundation under it. The roof's got a hole through the roof for the last 10 years, and the windows are all broke out of it. And it's been that way for over 10 years. And I can't understand why I'm always number one when we come up with this ordinance. It don't seem like I'm number 2 or number 3. I'm always number 1. The trailer house is the storage shed, and nothing but it's never ever been hooked up to utilities. And it's like I say, I use it for storage. And the trailer house and the house both got padlocks. So that's the reason why I couldn't get in them, because I couldn't get the police to give me permission to cut the padlock on my trailer house that I pay the taxes on, and I've owned it now for about 25 years. And I'm doing the best I can, and I'm sorry that it ain't $1 million house. But I think I owed that to my mother and my dad, because like I say, my dad was 50 years old when he died. And he had 5 years of cancer treatment, so Mom didn't have no money when she come to town. And she never worked other than being a housewife ever since she lived in St. John. And me and her both grew up in this town and done a lot for this town in the last 100 years.
So you've mowed it, you've removed the limbs from the roof.
Right,
You're gonna take the back porch off.
right. And we're gonna trim the rest of the trees up, providing he gets out of the hospital and don't get pneumonia. I mean, he offered to work today, but I said no, because I said if they can't understand what we're trying to do, and the big log was been cut up, but whoever sharpened his chainsaw sharpened it wrong, and it cuts in circles. So he cut all the stumps down around the porch and all that stuff, and he's going to come back and cut it flush with the ground, and we're treating all of them. But Terry can tell you that he took the limbs off of the trailer house for me, and I appreciate it very much. And I've lived here all my life, and him and Jay Riddle is the only two that's offered to help me do anything.
Okay. So, now what?
It's up to you guys. Again, the adoption of the resolution is just to set a period of time in which to commence repair or cleanup of the property. What you're doing is you're stating that the property is a blight to the community, and you're basically ordering the cleanup of the property. That's the resolution. This process is lengthy and it's slow, and it's designed that way because of due process requirements, and it involves telling somebody what to do with their private property. I mean, that's why this process is slow and designed like that. So that's the next step. You get a time frame, or you don't do anything, or you say that the property is in sufficient condition for the city of St. John, or you don't find that it's a safe or unfit structure, or that it's a blight to the community, and you just don't do anything. So those are the options.
I mean, I've lived here all my life, and I've seen some pretty bad houses. And I can show you at least 20 that's the roof fell clear in on the garages. And I've seen some moved into town lately that I wouldn't even jacked up and moved to town. So I feel like I'm trying to do the best I can for what I've been through.
Can I close the public hearing at this point?
Yeah, well, unless there's.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Close the public hearing at this time. And I would like to hear from members of council as to what they'd like to see done.
Well, speaking from cleaning up a lot of stuff in town, he's making an effort to get it cleaned up. I think we ought to move this old business for a couple of months and give him time, and council will by and look at it after he gets done and see if it meets the improvement.
I agree, but we need to give that time.
I agree. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Mr. Chute, how long do you think you would need?
Well, at my age and the way my health is, I need as much as I can get. I want to have it done before winter because it's going to depend on what happens to my sister. She's in the rest home, and if she has to go somewhere else, then I'm probably going to get clear the hell out of St. John because I've fought it for 50 years now, and I'm tired of fighting it. But I'm doing the best I can.
I can appreciate by winter, but I would really like to see it. The trees took care of and the yard mowed by Memorial Day.
You said the yard's mowed.
Yes,
The yard's mowed.
Yeah, just it's
I
mowed.
haven't been by.
Yeah.
It was mowed last year. Like I say, when they handed me that paper and charged me $200 to mow it, I told the cop to go by and look at it because it was mowed down. And Charlie Brown told him, he seen me mow it, and he's a policeman that lives next door to him. And so I just felt like they were picking on me then. Because I can show you places in town that was never, ever mowed last year. Never, ever mowed last year. And some of them was pretty good sized piece of property.
So are we talking 3 months? Are we talking 6 months? Are we
Um,
talking
I'd
2
like
months?
to reevaluate it no longer than 60 days.
Yep.
If we're
I
going
was
to.
saying, I
We
think
can
that's
look
too
at it
long
in
myself.
60 days, but, and then make a decision from there whether we continue to let him try it or whether, because the last time we give any type of stipulations, they waited till day 75 to start doing anything to change.
We've
And
been
I'm
working
not
on
waiting
it.
until the last minute to someone
We've been-
just to get an extension.
We've been working on this for 3 weeks already. You can drive by and see what we have. Well, like I say, he ended up in the hospital with pneumonia, and so we got shut down because I can't pick up a lemon carry it. If I
Well,
do-
there are other people that can.
Huh?
There are other people that are out there that can.
Not in St. John.
They get hired every day.
Yeah. You send them down.
So
All of them I've seen want $40 an hour. And
I'm not here quoting their prices. I'm just saying there are people out there that'll do it, Bob.
I know.
So
When I was a kid,
So-
I helped old people and didn't charge them nothing because we had some organizations in St. John that helped people, but they ain't here no more. We had a Chamber of Commerce, a Junior Chamber of Commerce, all them organizations, Business Association. We've run them all off.
So what I'm hearing council say is that we are going to put this to old business and that we will revisit it, and I will have Corey go out and do an inspection for the next meeting at 60 days.
And basically what we're deciding then is just to keep the hearing open.
Okay. So we are keeping the hearing open at this time.
I think 60 days is too long.
Okay.
Because we're going to run into the same deal where nothing gets done until the last week.
Okay.
So
And how long do you think?
30 days to see a big improvement.
If it rains for 30 days, then how am I gonna do it?
I'm fine with 30
I mean,
days
if
to
I ain't got-
reevaluate it.
If they don't look better
I
than
don't
60
want to
days,
give
you
somebody,
can
like
have
I
it.
said, last time we gave somebody 90 days to make changes, they waited till day 80 to start.
I guarantee you, as soon as he's able, he'll be down there helping.
So there's nothing that says we can't look at it in 30 days, and if we say, yeah, there's a vast improvement, we'll give you another 30 days and then evaluate it.
So we're gonna leave the public hearing open. We're gonna reevaluate in 30 days. Corey will go out and do an inspection at that time. And if there's progress being made, then we will look at how much more time we feel like council wants to give. So, are we good with that?
That's fine, and then at some point, if the council wants to move forward after, say, 30 days, you have to adopt a resolution setting a time in the future for when progress has been made. So you're essentially giving an additional time period at that point. So, and the last tidbit of, on this stuff, it pays to do this in numbers. So if there are houses out there that people are complaining about, the cost for filing printing a resolution is the same for one property as it is for a bunch of properties. We can do it in one resolution, so it's easier to kind of just do them all, more cost effective, I guess, do them all at once.
All right. Are we done with that topic? That item? All right. John?
Last meeting, a number of people wanted to visit with somebody from Hometown Market, which is, and I know I'm kind of, do we want to talk about this in the old new business grocery store committee, or do you want me to do it now?
We'll just do it on the grocery store. Be done with it at that point. I mean, since it's all together.
Old business report.
There wasn't anything. It was all moved to the next meeting.
All right. New business, grocery store committee.
Can we go ahead and let John talk about his hometown
Yep.
market
Yep.
first?
I represent a grocery store that's been around since the 40s. It's run as a co-op in Kiowa, which is what Mark was referencing in our last meeting. And so I attempted several times to call the president of the board of that grocery store, and then found out about a week and a half later that he'd been in Germany on vacation. So I called the manager of the store. They do have employees. They have a manager. It's open, I think, till 8 o'clock each day, and then from noon to 7 or something on Sunday. They are willing to meet with anybody from council that is interested in making a trip to Kiowa, either with the manager herself or the manager and somebody from the board. However you guys want to do it, whenever you guys want to do it, if you just give me some time periods, I can set that up.
Tell me the two of you.
Or we do it as a special deal like we did
do it
on
as
the...
a special meeting.
Yeah.
You'll have to go too.
And I'll have to go. Or two of you can go.
Or all of us could go.
All of us could go.
All
That
of
would
us
be a
could go.
little more enjoyable trip. We could talk.
Oh, and we could take the city bus. We could take the city bus, which Corey can drive.
I'll drive.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
So, you're done with that piece?
Yep, just let me know.
Just let them know.
All right, I think you all got a piece of paper that talks about Plan A and Plan B. I believe that we, as a grocery store committee, feel like we definitely need to decide what is best for the community and what the community wants. Do they want a complete grocery store? Or do we want a specialized grocery store like meat, produce? My thought was something like Smith's Market to complement what's going on already at Dollar General. I have visited with a few of the public, not a vast majority. I think everybody would like to have a full grocery store, but in reality everybody wants to keep Dollar General too, so they felt like maybe a complementary store to both, like for meat, produce, and things that Dollar General doesn't carry. The people I visited with, they felt like that when Dillon's played the card that they hadn't made money for 14 years, that really might hurt us in somebody wanting to come, or was it the truth? Could we support a grocery store and Dollar General? I don't know that. I'm just saying that's some of the stuff they said to me. So I went around and I actually visited with people. I called people on the phone. I asked them if they had a place, if they would sell their place on the square. If I saw an open lot, I asked them. On that first one, lots, I called Joanne Moody. Her lot's out there on East 4th. It's 1.9 acres. I believe it is zoned for residential, however. She said that she would take $20,000 for that. There are some other lots that I did visit with that I think when we go into executive session, these people, the reason for the executive session is these people have asked me to not say it publicly because it might be for sale to a grocery store, but not necessarily on the market. And they didn't want the public to be knocking on the door saying, I heard you wanted to sell your property, blah, blah, blah. So that's why that. I visited with Jerry Munden. He has the building next door here. He wanted to sell his whole business. I told him I only wanted his building for a grocery store. So he thought about it and he got back to me and he said for St. John I would do that. It is a 28 by 77, so 2,156 square feet. He said he would take $18 a square foot. So the price would be $38,808. He said he has put in new lights. It's in pretty good shape. He's kept it up. I did visit with Victoria Jensen. She had the old Duckwall stores. She did not get back with me, so I don't know if she doesn't want to sell. I know she wants to sell, but she really wanted it to go to more of a Christian organization. There's 5,000 square feet in the partial basement. It also has like a little counter in the back where they served, ice cream and stuff like that. I don't know if that's still on the market, but that is something that she said. And then I do have some other buildings again that we could discuss in executive session. I visited with a guy at Kinsley. He owns a private market. He also is up against Dollar General, and he told me it is very, very tough. He said that the only reason he's still there is because he has patrons who have never stepped foot into Dollar General. So, upon visiting with him, I explained that, we possibly had some used equipment. He advised that we never, ever, ever buy used refrigeration. He says there's a reason it's used. He said, I just don't advise that. If you're going to buy refrigeration, you need to buy new. Yeah.
They took out where the meat was and whatnot.
In the Dillon store, yeah.
They took that out.
He told me his store is between 4,500 and 5,000 square feet. He has 5 in-store employees at all times. We talked about gross profit. We talked about theft, loss from spoilage, outdating. He says those are all things that you have to visit with. He said especially when you do work on a smaller community. So he said those things are very important. I asked him about if he was to cut a store down, what he would cut, and he said he would eliminate the variety. You don't need 10 kinds of soup, mushroom soup. You have 1 or 2 varieties that you offer. Detergents, pet foods, chips, pop. He says everybody sells them, and he said it's hard for an independent store to compete with even the shortstop. Or he said, and typically Coke comes in and wants you to carry every size. If they have a 12-pack, a 4-pack, a 3-pack, or whatever, and he said you have to kind of watch that. But anyhow, he says it can be done. Again, he said though, up against Dollar General, he has really struggled since they've been in town. So that was his take on it. The vendors, there are people. Spartan Nash is who he buys from out of Omaha, Nebraska. He actually worked with him before he took over this grocery store. He said, but there are plenty of places out there that will provide you with what you need. So, and then Misty actually visited with the guy. I think you guys all have that, and I'll let her go over.
Okay. I actually started out with Kirk Ives. He's born and raised here, and he is the chief of police at Oxford. He said when I talked to him about it to talk to John Cooney, who was actually the mayor at the time, but now he's the city clerk. Very nice man, spoke, answered every question. He was very interested in getting the grocery store up and going. He said some things that I just asked him basically like where I told him where we were at with our process, how some people don't feel like we're doing anything and then we feel like we're doing more than what others think and stuff like that. And he said, first of all, it starts with the public support, which was our meeting, so we've done that correctly. And I'm saying done correctly according to his plans because his store has worked, or the Oxford store has worked. They hired a presenter through economic development, and that's where I think our committee may be ready to be just about done with because there's nothing else that we can do as far as finances or anything like that. So they hired a presenter through economic development. That presenter then went to the different types of stores and decided what kind of a model of store that they would like to have. Then that presenter brought it back to a community meeting and told them like they would narrow it down to 2 different types of stores. Told them which type of store that they like and why they like that and the pluses and negatives on that. They had a volunteer committee like ours. It didn't work out for some of the same reasons ours isn't working out. You don't get to, how do I want to say it, the best pick of the crop sometimes, for lack of better words, when you have community volunteering. And there's been some other little struggles too that we went through, and I've talked to him about them. They've gone through the same exact struggles, so it's not like ours is any different than anybody else's town that's gone through it. The presenter went to different stores. I told you that, found a model. One place, and I don't remember where he told me was, but they bought a ground, and so they got a bond, and that's how they did their ground. But theirs, they found 2 local farmers that put in over $200,000, which made them a profit or non-profit LLC is what he said. And then they were loaned $120,000 with 0% interest for 16 years.
Did he say by who?
He did not tell me that part.
I mean, was it a local bank?
I think it was a local bank, but I don't know which one.
Okay.
Anyways, a citizen that had, prior to their old grocery store closing, had actually closed down his lumber yard. And so then their store closed down, which, by the way, has been closed for over 8 years. So we shouldn't be freaking at this point in time that we don't have a store. It's still possible. And anyways, the guy donated the lumber yard to the city. The city then put $80,000 of their own money in it, and that came from capital improvement and equipment reserve funds. And what they did is he called it an open box plan. So the city came into this, let's say we buy Munden's, just for an example, Munden's place right over here. So the city would put their money in, and what they would do, they'd go in and make sure the concrete had no cracks. If they needed new concrete would be laid. If you need to get some of the windows out or replace windows for, make it efficient, then that's what that money would do. They made it a generic store where a lumberyard could come in or a Dillon's store could come in or any type of business could come in. They didn't set forth what type of business was coming in it. So they left it, completely open. Well, the LLC, which was the farmers, they basically will own this building at the end of 16 years. When their loan is paid off, all they have to do is pay off the loan. The LLCs will then own that. The city will give that back to them. It's in their contract to own it. They said, I told them where we were at. Do you find ground and do you build the building first? Do you find people to run it first? We're at that point. What do you do? And he said they also went through that point. They went through hiring process. Told them what was going to happen, what they were wanting to do. Everybody was saying, well, where's the building at? Where is this going to be held at? And so he said, they would say, well, call me back whenever you get a building. Well, so that was still up in the limbo. So he said, we finally just bit the bullet, and that's when we went ahead and we've, done this building and got it ready to go. He said, bottom line is, I would say if you build a building, people will come to you, is what he said. And just like I said in one of our meetings, it's a catch-22. He also used that same exact phrase. It is a catch-22. But if you're going to get anywhere, that's what you probably need to do. They found actually a retired husband and wife. They were farmers to actually run the store. I asked him what the profit was, if they were making a profit. Yes, they are making a profit, but they do not show it on the books. And the reason why they don't show it on the books is because they're reinvesting that money back into the store. So now the store now has a section that's a lumber yard inside the store as well. And they plan on, reinvesting that every year because they're retired. They don't want to show it as income, so they keep reinvesting it. They don't have to do that. Some things that he said as far as tips, again, was coolers. Do not buy used coolers. He said that's the biggest tip that he could give. They're going to probably run $60,000 to $70,000 depending on how many you want. He said don't pick up federal money because federal money has a lot of strings attached. And a lot of times you don't find out all those strings or realize all those strings until the last few steps, and then you're kind of made to do it at that point in time. He also talked about Red Leg USDA. They have money that's available, and our BEG grant. That's a grant to the city from the USDA that has no interest or economic growth. So he said that's another thing to check into. He said that we should check into the city reserve funds and see what's there that could help. And I wanted to put out there that Oxford is also a community of 1,100 people, so very comparable. And then my other thing was the store closed in either 2006 or 2008, so they've been without a store for over 8 years. They are within 15 miles of bigger towns where there's a Walmart, Kroger, Dillon's, things like that. That does pose to be a problem, he said, but it just came down to it that the community came together and said, no, we want this, and luckily it has been happening. The community has been coming back and supporting it. And he did suggest going to the Rural Grocery Store Summit on June 6th and 7th in Wichita, which I think some people have mentioned. And he just said it's really neat to be able to go to that and be able to talk to different people who have done the same thing or been in the same problem as we are in and what avenues they took, because there's more avenues out there than just what he did. But he's very open. His phone number is that. Oh, I thought it was in here. I don't see his phone number on there, but I can get it. I thought I put it in there.
Did he tell you, they said they got the building after the 16 years, the LLC did?
Mm-hmm. They had to pay back that $120,000 loan.
Okay. And at that point, the city gave the building to them.
Right. And that was kind of the city's...
Is the city backing that loan then also?
That's what I would assume. I did not ask that question, but that's what I would assume.
So the city would also assume some risk into that for all 16 years.
Correct.
Okay.
The building probably became collateral for one.
Right. That's what I was.
Which is kind of usually how those industrial bonds work too.
Okay.
But Kirk Ives was, he's the one that, I got a hold of him and I asked him what the prices were, and I actually said comparable to Kroger because that's what people in this town would be comparing it to since that's what we had. He said, some things are a little bit higher, but he said there's some things that are lower. But when he said higher, he said our store, you're talking 20, 30 cents higher. Not like some of the smaller stores where it's $1 higher and stuff.
I think as a grocery store committee, we're asking you, the council, if there is anything else you want us to do, or is it possibly time now that you appoint a task force or something that possibly has more authority than we do? Or, I don't know, what are your ideas?
And LaDonna, I can email you his number tomorrow. It's on my desk at work. I really thought I put that in there, but it was before I saved it.
I know that they made it work after being without a store for 8 years. But I think we need to head towards trying to find a place that we already have instead of taking 6 months to couple years to get something to go. To me, the longer you wait, the more people get accustomed to going out of town to not wanting to shop in town.
And that's why I went ahead and started knocking on doors and calling people with buildings, because we might wait 10 years for the Dillon store to come available. I don't know.
We can't go into executive session since we didn't have one on the agenda, can we? Or can
Yeah,
we?
we got
Yeah, we have one on the agenda.
Oh, we did.
Way ahead.
I added it already for you.
Before we do that though,
Well, don't brag. That ain't that hard.
I did receive an email from the real estate agent on the Joe's Electric property. They've dropped that price by $10,000 at this point. It's down to $89,000 for the list price. But I think that they would consider any reasonable offer at this point. So that's a possibility as well.
You said 89,000?
89,000.
You know, one of the things that you guys have to be, and the council has to be cognizant of too, is probably ADA compliance. Because you're going to have to make
Right.
changes to any of them, and I think that probably trips ADA requirements.
Okay, so how long of an executive session do you think?
Yeah, no more than like 10 minutes maybe.
Okay, I need a motion for an executive session to include council, mayor, legal counsel, and Tonya for 10 minutes
And at the grocery store committee.
To discuss to have preliminary discussions relating to the acquisition.
So be it.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Not for sure. Okay, so on to the next item then.
Yep, yes.
Well, I do have
Let's
one
put-
more.
Okay.
Go
Do you
ahead.
guys think that a task force and that maybe we as a committee are done? I mean, we'll be glad to help you with the sales tax thing. You know, however, whatever we can legally do to help you explain that or whatever, but I don't know, how do you feel about that? Maybe a more specialized task force?
Our group has talked about maybe making a flyer and sending it out through the post office on the 1% tax increase and kind of
Actually, a
explain
newspaper, not a flyer.
or whatever it is. But anyways, to explain kind of what that means and stuff. I mean, we would be willing, I think, to continue
Yeah, we
with
would do
that
that.
if need be.
I think that would be a good idea. I also think that we might need to look into maybe getting another group, you know, like you're talking about a task force that has a little bit more authority.
Somebody that's appointed by you
Right.
guys.
Well, I was gonna say, it needs to be instead of just
Yeah,
Instead
no
of
volunteer.
free-for-all
volunteer,
deal.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
We need to have
Exactly.
somebody on there that's.
Right.
Can we appoint people like that?
You can create a committee. It would have the same kind of open meetings, open records laws, that requirements as the council has. You just think of it as like your tree board comes and makes recommendations to you guys on, or your zoning.
Is that what you're kind of thinking, or what do you, I mean,
I'm thinking that it needs to be somebody that you appoint
okay,
versus volunteer people.
okay, I'd agree with that.
And somebody that has like legal representation, basically.
Well, or I think
to
it
some extent.
at least has representation. I think it,
Do you think it would benefit us if we found some business owners in the community to kind of,
Yeah.
I do, because those are some of the people
they
I've
understand
talked to.
some of the stuff that's
Mhm.
going on, that it takes to run a business? They may have,
You're going to need somebody who has legitimacy and represents the city to meet with vendors or
Right,
property
not
owners
just a committee.
or
person.
whatever. And that's the big benefit. The other thing is if council wants to appropriate money for that committee to run a campaign for passage of sales tax, stuff like that.
It'd probably be good to have a banker on it as well. It'd be nice to.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I did visit with Chad, and I do know that that bank is willing to do anything possible. We did not talk percentages, so I don't know if 0%, but anything that they can do to help, maybe not only the grocery store, but any new business. But we basically talked about the grocery store, and they are willing to do whatever they can to help.
I'd say let's form another committee.
I agree.
It's a great idea.
Do you guys have any idea of people? Or is that
I
something
have
as council wants to just kind of pick and choose some people and talk to them?
I think,
Individually?
I think the process is not to interrupt Troy, is the mayor appoints members of the committee, so my suggestion would be that the council makes recommendations to the mayor.
But I think we need Tony's input in on this.
Well, we need somebody from the committee because they've done a lot of the legwork.
Right.
I mean, I think they
Right.
need
Well,
to
I'm
be,
saying
somebody
we
needs
need-
to be part of it.
Right.
We need, they've done a lot of legwork and everything else and got a head
I mean,
start. They gotta be
it's
on.
no sense in throwing that stuff away and making
Right.
somebody else start all over.
Well, I'd be glad to pass it on too. I mean, to have it all wrote down.
And I have all the minutes.
A lot of people can't read those. They understand it better if it's told in person.
So do we want to just look at that next meeting and us as council members
Why don't,
talk
why,
to some people?
I agree. Why don't we get some recommendations on who we'd like to see on there, and then we take a look at all of everyone's ideas, and then go from there.
Yeah, well, and that way, whoever you kind of have as a,
You might ask them if they'd be willing to
yeah,
do it.
so that we can not just talk about it, but we can actually get the committee formed next meeting.
I think that's
And not have to go,
important.
oh, they didn't want to do it.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
I think that's important because we do have that summit coming up on the 6th and the 7th in Wichita that, I mean, I really feel like somebody needs to say, yeah, I'll go to that.
But
From that task force or committee.
I do think we need to limit to 5, maybe 7 people at the most.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Because
we will.
it's when you have 20 people, it's hard to get anything done.
Yep.
It is. Very
So,
hard.
Okay, so it needs to go back on the agenda under old business for next meeting.
actually, I would say 5.
We can kind of decide that, but I think 5 would be.
So like I said, it just,
I think 5 is just fine.
And you're gonna get her the recommendations.
yes.
I also think it'd be probably a good idea to have a contractor on that board of some sort. If you're gonna have to do building stuff, they might be able to help you look for things ahead of time. Banker would be nice, just things like that.
There you go.
Corey.
That'll
Have the
work.
representation of the city as well.
That'll work.
Well, actually, we could just loan him to the committee to.
I'm longer now.
Can I borrow your superintendent?
Okay, are we ready to move on to the next item?
I believe so.
Grant manager.
Oh, that would be me, wouldn't it?
I think
That
so.
would be me. I know that Carolyn has wrote some grants for us, but I know she's busy with Stafford County as a whole. I spoke to Lisa Cornwell and asked her just flat out if she would be willing to write grants and do grant research strictly for the city, and not necessarily pertaining just due to the grocery store, but infrastructure, new business, anything and everything that's available, that would be available to the city. And she said that she would. She told me that typically out of county she charged $90 an hour. In county it's $30 an hour with no bonus if we do get a grant, or she would do a flat fee of $600 a month for the research, provide us with any and all available grants that are out there that the city would be able to apply for. The one thing she did say is she said that, she would kind of need some structure from the council as, what's really high on your list and what's low on your list. What are your biggest things you're looking at? And I don't know if that's something the council's wanting to do. I think we've got plenty of projects that we could do if we had some help, and that money's going to be given to somebody no matter what. Whether, and if it builds our infrastructure, if we find that, if there is a lot that we can buy and put a building on and have available for a new business to come to town, then I'm willing to do that. I know our infrastructure, when we done our deal last year, those numbers were awful high on fixing our streets and our water system and sewer system,
But that $600 a month also included all the paperwork involved in getting them, or is that extra?
I didn't ask her that. I did mess up. She just told me that it was 600. She would do a flat fee of $600 a month in the research and provide us every month a packet of what's available for us to get money-wise. I do know, she said, during the school year, because she does work at the school, that typically she could only do about 40 hours a month for us as far as grant research and stuff, and then the writing would just have to be fitted in if we decide to. So I don't know, whether you just pay a flat fee of $600 a month for the research.
Well, I wouldn't be opposed to trying the $600 a month to see what she can come up with.
When I spoke with her after I talked with you, she pretty much said that she would be willing to do all of everything you just said, and it would probably be a lot easier for her to do all of that and take care of everything and get us all the information. So it sounds like a really good deal to me. So
I ain't got a problem with it.
Now, I guess, do we have funds to do it? And where could we use them? I didn't check with you on that, I don't think.
Well, I can probably find you the funds if you want to do it.
I think it's something that we need that's a little more focused to the city.
Are we going to want to do some kind of a contract?
I would
Oh,
recommend a
yeah,
contract.
yeah.
And
And before we decide on it, we probably ought to maybe even get her in here and discuss exactly,
right,
Oh, yeah.
put priorities.
But not only that, is it just 600 for the research, and then what is she going to charge us if she does write a grant, or does that include writing the grant if we want her to? He needs all that stuff spelled out.
I understand that, yeah.
But I guess it's more so, is this something we want to pursue as a council? Is what I brought up to.
I would say yes.
Other than a few, it's not like we've had opportunities, so I'd say let's try.
Do we just want to try and have her meet with us next meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
So can we put that on old business?
Yeah.
okay, are we ready to move on to the last item?
Yep.
Commercial electricity rate.
I had Madonna get a hold of Greg. Yeah, I got that in your packet somewhere. And I hope Madonna, I was supposed to get with him and I didn't, Madonna. I got busy. But the way our current deal is, actually, to me, it's, if you look at what business is, you kind of get penalized for the more electricity used, the more you pay. In the business I'm in, and business that most everybody else is in, the more you buy, the less you pay. To me, if we want businesses or whatever, we need to change that. Now, I take it, the top deal is the way it is today for residential, or what?
Yep. Greg had two suggestions for you.
Okay.
But the thing you have to remember is that whatever you do to the commercial, residential has to offset it. So if you take something away from commercial, then the residents have to make up for it, or otherwise the city doesn't make any money. So if you take the base fee away from the commercial, it will have to be added to the residential. I'm just throwing that out there to you. So,
The base fee?
well, whatever
You're
you
talking
take.
about the
Yep. If you look down in the middle, it says current. And right now, the commercial pays a $9 base fee. Residents pay a $6 base fee. If you would take that $9 base fee away, and you want to make it more like a neutral, kind of like so everybody pays everything, you're going to raise the residential to about, he figured about $6.62, and then the commercial will be $6.63. But in doing that, if you make everyone neutral, because that's the first suggestion, is to make everyone neutral, everybody pays the same. You're going to take away from the residents, you're going to take away that first 100 kilowatts at 0.01, whatever it is. I think it's 0.01. You're going to, and then everybody would pay what the commercials pay. There wouldn't be that 100 kilowatts. This top one is making everybody neutral. Everybody pays the same. There's no resident that gets 100 kilowatts at a certain rate and commercial doesn't get it. Everyone's going to pay the same rate. Everyone's going to try to pay as close to the same base fee, which some residents are going to see an increase to their energy costs because they won't get that first 100 residents at 0.01. That's what this top one is. And I can go in there and I can figure, he sent it to me, and I can put in whatever number you want and it'll adjust it, and you guys can see that and you can see what it does.
So he's sitting here telling me
That we can't change the rates without.
that we're so tight on our budget that we can't lose anything.
Well,
And we encumber so much money every year off the electric.
It's up
every other
to
fund.
it's up to if the city wants to continue making money off the energy, you have to do it this way.
You're saying if we knock 1 cent or 2 cents a kilowatt hour
We're all
off
of a
our
sudden into the
commercial
deficit?
customers, that we're going to be
Covered.
broke?
Well, eventually, you guys will end up losing money.
I'd
Yes.
like to see his figures.
You will end up losing money by doing it that way.
Well,
The residents
not
will
the
have
year.
to offset it.
We said this though, I believe, without knowing the exact date, in 17, we're going to have to start rewriting our contract with Midwest Energy. So that might kind of play a role here in what we want to do and see what kind of contract we get. So if we change this stuff and then we get a new contract, or we change it again, that might be something to ask.
No, but the thing
ask
about it
Greg
is
about.
when we talked with him last time, he was talking about putting businesses on a demand charge and lowering their yearly rate,
Yeah.
and that never affected the residential. So you can't sit here and tell me that by changing commercial rate and lowering it and leaving residential alone.
I'm just
Well,
repeating
I think
exactly
we
what
need
he
to have
said.
him come.
Okay.
Because, and explain to him that I don't think he's
The
right.
second
For a lack of a better
solution,
word.
the second solution he came up with was to do a 2-tier commercial rate, where the small commercial people who only generate 500 kilowatts per month would be on the residential rate, which means they would get the first 100 at a special rate.
But the small commercial businesses like mine, that my bill runs $147 a month, does not break me. It's Napa and other places that are $4,000 a month that gets in their pocket, and Dillon's.
Me.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's the larger ones that use more that is
Yeah, I
that's
don't-
going to benefit more.
The other day when we talked, and I brought this up, he said he didn't even think that it was the way that I explained it by the way he acted. It was kind of like he was dumbfounded. Now all of a sudden we are so tight on money that we can't do anything.
He's just telling you
Without
that
swapping-
if you adjust the commercial, it's going to affect the residential.
I'm not a
That's
believer in
what he's
stealing
telling
from
you.
Peter to pay Paul.
That's just what he said. He said if
I'm
it's
not
going to
either.
adjust it.
Let's just
The
have
other
him come
thing
in
you,
here.
the other thing you guys need to realize is that the larger businesses are the ones that are going to use the more energy. They use the more energy. They cause the peak, which causes the residents to pay more. And that's probably why I think you guys came up with this, for that the commercial to pay more, because they cause more of that peak increase.
Yeah, but like I said, he told us on the Dillon store that when the demand, if we done the demand charge, it would have saved them like $5,500 a year, and that's still losing money as far as I'm concerned. I mean, that's cutting somebody a break on their
Well, evidently
electricity
you forgot to
rate.
tell us we had to raise everybody else's $5,500 to cover it up.
Yeah, I'm not for that.
No.
But if you guys
there
want
is
him
no way
down,
that
then I
every
mean, we
town
can have him down.
out here is paying, that their businesses are paying more than their residentials.
The other
Everything
thing you
is a
guys can
quantity
do,
based deal.
the other thing you guys can do is you can have him do a rate study. You guys have never had him do a rate study. What he did last time,
We done that 10 years ago.
no, what he said is he came in and he looked at your resolution. and he realized you guys were not using the cost or the EPA the right way. So he adjusted that to make it look the right way. He said he's never done a rate study for the city of St. John.
Well, the way he's got this, I'm kind of scared to have him do something like that.
But if you want Greg to come, I'd be more than happy to schedule him back down here.
By the time we pay Peter that many dollars, we're broke.
I think we probably ought to have him down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell him sharpen his pencil.
Okay.
Okay, one last thing, just something to be thinking about before the next meeting. We've been doing a workshop type meeting in June before we get the budget put together. I don't know if that's something you guys are wanting to do again this year. If it is, let me know, and also give me an idea of what time frame is going to work for you guys. If the Saturday morning thing works, it's great for me, but it's completely up to you guys, whatever you want to do.
I don't know, but it'll have to, if we even think about it at this point, it's going to have to be very early June.
Yeah, I think we could.
Because I think we're all going to be very busy at the end of June, in the middle or to the end of June. So,
Okay, that's fine. I mean,
But
we
I'm-
can
I'm
tentatively
just
look
saying
at the
that
first
it's
weekend of
overall-
June. That's
But
what
that's
we
probably what's going to be best for me is earlier in June.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
and on a Saturday,
Does the
or you want to do it in
Saturday
the
morning
evening?
work?
Saturday's fine. Works for me.
Saturday morning, as long as there's coffee and donuts.
Hmm?
As long as there's coffee and donuts.
What money we're making off electricity, sure, everything for donuts.
Stephanie said that we were
Sorry, we missed a guard
They
earlier
missed
on our
another
list that I had
on the
listed
list.
down, and I didn't realize it until I was texting everybody tonight to
Okay.
let them know they got their job. Marcena Irvin, she'd be a returning guard at 8:25.
She's not.
Yeah, I was like starting to text them, and I'm like, oh dear. So she'd be at 8:25 an hour.
So we can amend the agenda.
Amend the consent agenda.
Sorry, I didn't
Well, we
realize
gotta
it
do
until I started
Or you can
texting
make her
tonight.
text her back. Or she'll circle June.
Will it actually be a big deal before our next meeting, so we don't have to go
It's
through all
like
that?
May 17th is the next meeting. Is that okay if we just approve her on May
Yeah,
17th?
no, that's fine.
Let's
That's
just
So we
do
don't
it.
have to go through all the amendments
Nope,
and
you go
stuff?
fine.
I'll make
That's
sure to
fine.
put her
I
on.
didn't think the pool was open that quick.
No, I just didn't know if it had to be done now, so I thought, oh, I better go back down there.
Put in the paper that the council passed on the hiring.
yeah, yeah,
Blow it off because it was just getting too late.
It'll be on the TV, so don't worry.
yeah. That's all good.
What did we decide on that 15-year-old lifeguard?
Yeah, we took care of that last meeting.
Didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
You said to go ahead and do it as long as they pass the
Yep.
certification.
Okay.
Wait, pay attention.
I don't
Entertain a
remember
motion
talking
to
about it.
adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
There's my headline, council.